Hey, Mikey, I got a joke for you about Wall Street. You ready?
If it's about Wall Street, I don't know if I'll ever be ready.
Martin Scorsese's epic masterpiece, The Wolf of Wall Street, holds an impressive record for using the words fuck and fucking 506 times throughout that film. That's more than I've said while trying to assemble an IKEA furniture piece last weekend. But hey, at least my chair doesn't have a profanity-laced script.
Well, I hope your chair doesn't break underneath you either. Is that the one you put together?
The fuck? So we're doing fat jokes now?
That's not exactly how I intended that, but like more like you were faulty putting it together, like you didn't know what you were doing. But you could take it that way too, I suppose.
I'll continue. Oh, but wait, there's more. 2 day traders are looking at the commodity stocks for office supplies on their computer. What's the movement on desks and chairs? Asks the first trader. That's moving up, says the second. We should get into it. Okay, what about stocks for desktop computers? Are they moving? Asks the first. Yep, they're dropping, says the second. We've got to sell that off. Okay, what about paper? Is that moving? Asks the first broker. Paper? No, says the second. Paper is stationary. Welcome, everybody, to Episode 8 of Mr. Robin's Hood Podcast, coming to you digitally from Studio B at the compound, located just outside of Fargo, Oklahoma. I'm joined today by my altogether too-sober co-host, collaborative partner in crime, and all-around BFF, Mikkel Robinson, also known in the podcast uni as Mikey on the mic. Say hi to the good folks listening, Mikey.
Hello, good folks that are listening. Possibly out of your control, you know.
Well, yeah.
I'm just kidding. But I was just like picturing people like being forced to listen, you know.
We need that.
I feel like, yeah, we do.
The ones that are forced are the ones that'll pay money eventually.
There you go.
We're also joined by Cousin Fred and his latest flame, Magdalene, at the controls. And our guest today on today's podcast is our altogether too sober podcast guest, Ann Dundon, also known alternately as the wife and the Stock Market Maven. She's going to make all of us smart about investing in the stock market to get rich and live la vida loca. Whoops, sorry. Make that la buena vida. Hello, Ann, and welcome.
Well, hello, everybody.
You're going to regret this.
Actually, she'll probably bring in some listeners.
Yeah, could very well be.
I think so.
Well be.
I think people are more interested in the stock market than I'm giving them
to
credit for, or than listening to. Yeah, nobody wants to listen to you, Mr. Robin.
Okay. So, granted, I have kind of an inside track here because I am married to Ann, and I have witnessed her ability in dealing with stocks. I refer to it as her superpower. I've seen her make money when everybody else was losing money and the markets were way down. And it enabled me to live this luxurious life here at the compound. I don't have a sound effect for crickets, but you get it.
Yeah.
So, Ann, where would you like to start?
Well, I think maybe we'll start at the basics. As you know, there are multiple stock markets all over the world, but I'm mostly focused just on the USA stock market. And there are approximately 9,000 different companies that are part of the market in the United States.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of choices, a lot of
Options.
options
Yeah.
to pick from, choices and options, by
Exactly.
the way.
There you go. You can choose, or it's an option that you also can choose.
And options are also a market strategy
Oh,
on
interesting.
how you trade. So, well, what are the basics? First of all, the markets go up and the markets go down. So, what affects that basically? Well, when everything's good in the market, so you're looking at earnings, inflation, interest rate, and a rise in the economy, and they fall in a weakened economy. So, one of the things that we all know is employment. So when employment is up, the markets are usually doing well. And when employment is down and companies are losing money for whatever reason, that's called a bear market. So when they go up, it's a bull market. And when they go down, it's a bear market. But you can make money with both markets. I wouldn't suggest getting too far into the talking about bear markets right now. So, with regard to the current trends, everything is going extremely well right now. The markets are up.
Yeah.
Inflation, I believe last year was 9%, and now it's down to about 4 or 5%.
Well,
So that means the economy strengthened, jobs are plentiful, and people can go to work and make some money.
I don't want to get a job.
So again, earnings, inflation, and interest rates have a huge impact in the market and how things are going in the economy. So what we do know is that the Federal Reserve is mandated with the task of maintaining monetary stability in the United States and full employment. So when things are stable, we have full employment, things are good. When we don't, things aren't so good. So the Federal Reserve sometimes raises interest rates if to maintain monetary stability. So raising interest rates helps cool the economy if the economy is kind of going wacko.
Right.
So, and then when they seek to maintain full employment, they lower the interest rates. So, and it can be a vicious cycle over and over again. But that's kind of like the overall basics of how things work. Now,
What? So, as you said, the markets are doing pretty well right now.
yes.
So, what do you see as current trends?
I think the current trends are really great. Companies are making money. The economy is strong, especially, President Biden has input certain policies and acts which have greatly reduced the inflation rate from last year to this year. So I think that's really important. When things get really expensive, some people get out of the market and they'll go into CDs or something of that nature.
Putting everything to cash.
Yeah, or put everything, which is what I've done a number of times, put everything in cash, not put it into a 3 or 4 or 5% CD. That doesn't work for me.
Okay. And so when you really got started on this, I think it was after, when did you? Because
Yeah,
you
I was
kinda
curious
started
about
out
that.
as a day trader, as I remember.
Well, actually, it was kind of serendipitous how I got into it. As you know, Robin, my mom was living with us for a couple years.
Yeah.
And then I got fired from my job, which I hated. And so that turn of events, I was very depressed for about a year after that. And one day you came home with a book about 3 inches thick talking about how to work from home and different jobs you can have. So there were thousands of pages and
right,
pages. So incidentally, the next day, and I read through the entire book, but I wasn't really intrigued by anything in particular until the next day, serendipitous, I got an email talking about a free seminar. So I went to this seminar and I found out about trading, and I'm thinking, well, I'm smarter than the average bear. I can do this. So that's really how I got started. The thing is, I worked with software, and probably most smart traders, that's the thing to do, is find a good trading system and a good company to work with. And I did work with one early on that was sponsored by the seminar that I told you I went to. And then later on, I found another one that I liked even better called VectorVest. And I've been using that probably for 8 or 9 years now. And I love it. I tell people who will listen all about it.
There you go. Well, I was kind of curious, since we're kind of talking about how you got into it, because that was one of my questions. But the other one was, it almost seems like it's become kind of a passion of yours. Did you ever think that would ever happen in your life? I mean, everybody knows about the stock market, but did you think one day that you're just going to be the stock market maven, as Mr. Robin puts it?
No, I didn't. I remember once getting angry when we lived in Anacortes. I had a market account and savings. I was always a really good saver, but I was always a good spender as well. But the people that I worked with, it's their popular brand, and they're here also in Woodward. The gentleman who was handling my account on one occasion lost $100,000 of my money.
Ooh.
And
Ouch.
then it happened a second time. And I thought, oh man, I got to do better than this. And I fired him, and I transferred all my money to a broker, I work with Schwab and TD Ameritrade, which is part of Schwab. Schwab bought them out recently. And I just got started to learning, and I wound up with a different company. And every year I go to their seminar in Tampa. It's usually in Tampa in January. Yeah. And I just love it. The community is amazing, of the people you meet, all kinds of people. Mostly, though, they're not young people. And when I say young people, I'm 72, but I didn't start this until I was in my 50s.
Right.
Because I didn't really know, because it's too complicated. It's very complex.
It seems very complex. I had a friend who was really into it, and he was, probably 10 years older than me. And I remember he'd be up at 5 o'clock in the morning, checking the markets and trading and doing all this stuff. And he tried to explain it to me then, and I'm like 20. And I'm thinking, what are you even talking about?
Well, first of all, you need money to make money. So let's make that clear.
There you go.
Okay. And I was always a saver, like I mentioned before. But having somebody else lose so much money for me was a shock. That it was really a shock. And every time I think of that, I just remember this quote that I forget who it was, but you'll probably remember. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. I think it was Mike Tyson who said that.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
Sounds like old Mikey.
Yeah, very philosophical.
So really, to make money, like I said, you really have to have money. So when I was in my 30s, I was always contributing to my IRA.
Right.
And no matter how much it might pinch you a little bit, you will, in the end, be so thankful that you started. So
Sure.
They really stopped. I remember when I was in my middle 30s that the companies were no longer offering these retirement benefits and these
Right.
retirement things. And so you had to really take responsibility for your own money. And that's
Right.
basically what I started to do. So that's kind of how I started. But the educational aspect is really, I think, the most important. And you need patience and you need time with doing it.
Okay.
Actually, I consider it my third master's degree because I did spend 2 years training with a specific company over a period of time, learning different aspects of training. Like earlier, you mentioned options,
Right.
and options is a strategy and a technique,
Okay.
as opposed to the stock goes up, the stock goes down. That's just normal trading. But there
Right.
are different strategies like futures, options, Forex, which is foreign exchange markets and things like that.
Okay.
But with 9,000 companies in the market, you don't really need to be married just to one thing. It's a lot has to do with your temperament. Like Robin mentioned, day trading before, and I did do day trading, but it was a little nerve wracking,
Right.
and it was a little addicting. It was like really gambling a little bit
Yeah.
because you could
Yeah, that's what I was just about. Is it a bit like gambling? Because it's kind of what it sounds like.
Well, it's funny because when I left my old job, I told somebody that I was starting this, and he goes, "Oh God, you're just, you can't, it's not safe. You can't do it, blah, 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 blah." And unfortunately, I didn't listen to him because I know I'm smarter than the average bear.
Right.
So that's sort of how it started, and I know Robin said, or mentioned about, well, how much do you need? Well, if you have an IRA with your company, or, you can take that money out of that. A lot of companies require you to keep the money in your IRA trade that they contribute to. Some companies will contribute like 3, 4, or 5% into that. So you want to take that,
Right.
as you continue to put your own money in. But after appointment, at a period, I think it's about 5 years, you can start taking that money out and trading yourself, because I was never going to let that happen again to me.
Right. I understand.
That happened. So I like I said, I took some classes, and I changed my trading strategies and everything to one that I started using 9 years ago, which is called VectorVest. And it's an incredible company, and it's an incredible group of people that are just there to help you and make you successful.
So it's a company that this is what they do, is they help people get into the stock market and trade.
Right. Well, what they do is they have a software which I use, which I
Okay.
can show you later if you want, and it requires. Well, when I mentioned you have 9,000 companies, which ones do you go to? I mean,
Right.
how do you know to start?
Yeah, that's
where
what
to
I was
start?
thinking.
What were good, what were bad? So this particular company has software that is just incredible. I mean, and the people that work there, because I meet them almost every year when I go to
Right.
the seminar, and they have, I think it's about, I'm just going to say off the top of my head, it's about 50 different ways they analyze the market. Okay.
So they kind of feed you some of the information about these
absolutely.
companies. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Makes sense.
So they're hooked into these humongous databases around about, what the companies are doing, when their earnings are coming, what their dividend yields are, and things
Right.
like that. So you can really get involved in all that. Once you start gaining some confidence, you kind of get into a role. Like I said, I did futures, I did options, and now I just do regular trading, back
Yeah,
and forth
so
with the stock.
I'm starting to pick up on some industry lingo here with the bull and the bear and the
okay.
options, and
Okay.
I think that's really interesting.
Well,
that
the bull markets mean it's
up, and the bear market means it's down. But you're smarter than the average bear.
That's true.
So you got this. You got this, Marianne.
Now, Robin had asked me a question about day trading. He said, "It's so 21st century. Are there still people out there doing it?" And absolutely, people are out there day trading all the time. Sometimes my mentor at the time, his wife, Candace, she used to day trade with a community. So there was a group of people that would get together and do analysis and then throw things out to the room, if you will, that are part of this community. And they would talk each other up or talk each other down and give their opinions about things and so forth. And that can be really nerve-wracking. So that wasn't something, I did it for a little bit, but it's fast.
Right, fast-paced.
It's very fast-paced. And for example, talk about a little bit of an addiction. One day I was just trading, and it's only in the morning for a couple hours.
Right.
Okay?
I think that's what my friend was doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like just a couple hours in the morning that the day traders work.
Right.
So anyway, what was I going to say next? But people are still living at it, and people are, I think, have more access to education and things like that,
Right.
and more people who are in the know. But believe me, you need a software system. And
Okay.
you need a system, and you need some discipline.
And
that
yeah.
really helps.
Yeah.
Having that analysis on a daily basis, that's what those tools provide.
Yeah, that
Right.
seems like that makes sense to me, because I was always thinking, how do you know what to trade? Because I knew there was more to it than just like, well, I'm just going to willy-nilly pick this. And my other question is, I guess day traders do it every day. Do you have to be disciplined to do what you do every day? Is it something you have to check every day, or how does that work?
No, when I was day trading, yeah, obviously I was doing it every day. But it's one time I went in and I did so well, I made $1,700 in a couple hours.
Wow.
And I was telling my mentor at the time, and he said, "Well, usually I shoot for $500 and then I quit." So you want to put.
You know what's really funny about? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go right
You know
ahead.
what's really funny about this is if Mr. Robin,
Yes.
I'm a degenerate gambler.
You were an irresponsible gambler?
No, I wasn't irresponsible. I never bet more than I could afford to lose.
Okay.
All that. But I actually started taking my daughter to the racetrack. She was maybe
3,
2
4.
years old. I mean, she was nothing. And so I'd have her in like a carrier thing, and I couldn't let her go into the restroom by herself. So now I'm taking her into the men's room and going into a stall and holding my hand over her eyes as we came back out. But my point here is that with gambling, whether you're doing it at a racetrack or you're in a casino somewhere and you hit something on a slot machine, you know, when you get a big return, you get the hell out of there, because the longer you stay in that casino, the more chances they have to take it away from you. And it's exactly the same thing with horse racing. And there were times when Mary Ann wouldn't be doing so well for whatever reason in terms of the market. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a lot like horse racing. Maybe I should take that up as a part-time job. All right, sorry.
I'm just glad that we did your daughter's interview before this one, so people know she turned out really well, even though Robin's hauling her to the horse racing and taking her into the men's restroom and all this stuff.
What was I supposed to do?
You did the right thing. It's
2-year-old
just funny. I mean, maybe not by taking her there, but
But by the
whatever.
time she got to be 4, and we're going way off track here. By the time she was 4, she was handicapping horses. And
Yeah,
she
there you go.
got it.
Start them young. That's what they say, right?
She got it. By golly, there were times she came home with more money than I did.
There you go. So you took her so you would come back with something. I get it. It's all coming together now.
Well, kind of a little bit like, if we go back to day trading, you have to be very disciplined at it. And my mentor, when I told him, I made $1,700 the other day, he couldn't believe it. But then what I didn't tell him is I kept going and going and going at it, and it kept going down and going down and going down. And I didn't get out. So,
You took a risk. So some of
Yeah.
it is a little bit of risky business.
No, not
No,
really.
not really?
No, in
It
my
seems like
opinion-
that to me.
Well, that's what you have software for.
Okay.
So, for example, the software I use, it examines like 50 or 60 different aspects of the company, including, fundamentals. And the fundamentals are basically what carries the company. In other words, what's their cash flow, how much profit they're making, and what their plans are for the future. All that is integrated into those 50 different categories, and I only use about I use about 10 of them.
Yeah.
Which has to do with earnings, and which has to do with things going up and things going down. It just is a magnificent guide, and it's not really a risk, because when you go in, you can decide how much you want to risk, which is there, but it's like, how much do you want to lose today?
Right.
I mean, do you want to lose $1,000? Do you want to lose $400? So there is some discipline, and especially when you're first starting out, that you have a methodology, and you have rules that you make for yourself.
So that kind of plays into one of my other questions here, what you're talking about. So would you say that there's a bit of a art form to working the stock market? It's kind of sound with the methodologies and everything. Kind of sounds like there may be, or you create your own little art form. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Does that make
yeah,
sense?
because looking at 50 different analysis categories is way overwhelming.
It sounds
So-
like it.
And it's just, I don't even know how they get all this data, but they do every day, 5 days a week. So you, in the categories, it gives you, well, what's the timing? Maybe this stock is really going up. Maybe it's going to go down, and by looking at the charts and looking what the charts look like, you can tell.
You can analyze
You
what's
can analyze,
going on.
and you can get out. There's always stops. If it goes below $10, you could put a trailing stop in. So, for example, if you had $100 and you only wanted to lose $5 at $100, what a trailing stop will do, it'll trail your profit up. So you have a stock for $100 and it goes down 95. Well, you can actually use that characteristic to say, if it goes down either this much money,
It'll pull out.
it'll
It'll do it
stop
for
you
you.
out of the stock. Right
So you're
away.
still putting in the motions to do that, but then it helps you do it too. So it's
Well,
almost like,
it's not even. You can do it ahead of time.
that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
So, but when if it goes up to 100, the trailing stop follows it up. So,
Okay.
in other words, if the stock goes up to 115, and the trailing stop will. So let's say it was $5. The trailing stop will stop you at $5. So if it's 115, it'll stop you at 110. So you don't lose. You own your profit.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's called a trailing stop. That's the methodology.
See, another one of the industry terminologies that we're learning. I hope everybody's taking their notes out there, because she's giving this information out for free. Just saying.
So there's a way to reduce your risk and everything, especially in options, in ETFs. We talked about stocks. ETFs are stocks, but they're a bundle of stocks.
Okay.
So let's say in different industries like healthcare, energy, real estate, consumer products, basic materials, things like that. You can look at different industries of what you're interested in, and it'll show you. Again, the software will show you how good they are, whether they're a premium stock. A premium stock is a stock that the whole entire wealth of the company is there. Plus, because it's such a big stock, like let's say Apple or any other big stock, that there's a premium on the value. So you're actually paying more for it than if the company went out of business and divided up all the assets. You'll get out before it goes down, or
Right.
you still get a piece of it. You still save your profit. So
Right.
the trailing stop, if you were at 115, the trailing stop rises with the stock. So if it's a $5 one and you go up to $125, if it goes down to 120, you still get that profit. It
Right.
trails you, it stops you out of the market, and you still earn the money.
Do you get an adrenaline rush from this sometimes? I mean,
Well, yeah,
inquiring minds want to know, like my husband, not me.
yeah, yeah, it is. It's that's kind of why I got out of day trading, because there's all that energy going on, and if you can trade with a group, there's a whole bunch of people talking. Like one of the software I use, we do trending Thursday, so the teachers are on every Thursday. Actually, you can go in and watch it if I can give you the address that you can go in and listen. But we wind up being a big group. We were on Zoom, and he's in the picture there, and there's a running list of maybe 300 participants, and they're typing in things, and he makes comments on them. So it's a kind of company it's very educational. You learn so much, and it's really fun to go to one of their seminars in January when it's warm in Florida.
In Florida, warm, and that must be something. It's warm in Florida in January. I was curious, does this software cost you something?
Absolutely.
I suppose.
Absolutely.
Would you say it's affordable for people, or?
It's way affordable for me, but
yeah, but you're making a bunch of money over here.
Well, that's how I got there,
Well, that's true. That's what I'm saying. Is it worth
it's
the
worth
investment?
the investment.
It counts as a tax
write-off, sure.
And I think, I got some. It's usually around $1,100 a year that they charge you in the beginning of the year. But sometimes you get discounts, like when you go to the seminar, they'll knock $100 off this, or you buy this, or what.
Well, and if you divvy that up over 12 months, I mean, that's no more than your cable. Hey, why don't you, cut your cable for some software that'll make you more money and not rot your brain with the TV?
Says the
Just
woman
a thought.
who doesn't have cable.
Yeah, see. I know what I'm talking about.
Plus, the other thing, the other thing is, there's a lot of information out there on the internet. For things to check out, the first thing you should do is really get to learn your brokerage software. So usually your IRA is invested with a broker like Schwab or somebody. So there's online websites. There's a nice website called FinViz. That's FINVIZ.com. It's a free stock market analysis and performance, and it's an incredible piece of software for free.
Right.
You can do a lot more sophisticated things if you join them, which there's a monthly fee with, but I've never did join them. Also, there's Investopedia.com, and what that is for, it teaches you learning fundamentals mean, what technicals mean, because there's financial aspects and then there's technical aspects, and that's the way you learn how to read a chart. So if the chart reads a certain way, you want to get out. but the ways there's called dojis, or there's rice ticks, or there's like all kinds of different charts you can make, but definitely the candlesticks are the most accurate because it tells you the feeling of the marketplace. It tells you if they're making changes, or people are changing their mind about it, or people are really into it, or people are selling it. There are bull candlesticks and bear candlesticks. So these kinds of things, kind of information are there for you. Also, finance.yahoo.com has a lot of news and a lot of information about the overall market and where things are going. Bloomberg TV is a really good one. CSNBC has Mad Money with Jim Cramer. He's a little crazy, but he is entertaining. So, and books, there are great books out there. Secrets for Profiting in Bull and Bear Markets, Stan Weinstein. It was written in like 1976, and it should have been rewritten in a new format because it was old when it was printed.
Sure.
But he basically said, there's nothing else I can say. And I don't think he's alive anymore anyway. And then there's a combination of a scholarly approach with technical analysis, which teach you what those mean.
Right.
And then fundamentals, which, are basic. They're balance sheets, cash flow, income, a growth opportunity, growth advancement. Trade Your Way to Financial Freedom by Van K. Tharp is an excellent one. Searching for the Holy Grail and finding a trading system that works for you. So he's very famous. But like I mentioned before, VectorVest.com is the one I've been using for a couple of years now. And I think it's outstanding value for anybody.
Wonderful. Well, is there anything else that you want to make sure that our listeners know about the stock market?
Well, I would say be patient, learn more, read a book or two. And if you know somebody else who is in the market, you can talk to them about and their approach and, what they do.
Yeah,
every
get
day.
their input and insight into it as well. And that's how we learn, is talking amongst other people that know more than us. So I'm all about that.
Yeah. And so there's, for the past few years, there's been a trend, with Bitcoin.
Yes.
What, do you want to talk any about your experience with Bitcoin?
I have some Bitcoin.
I know.
The first time I bought Bitcoin was probably, 8 or 9 years ago. And I only invested like $6,000 in it. And then after a short period of time, I got out of it. I made 300% on my money. So I put 6,000 in, I took out 18,000. That's the right math, right?
Yeah.
It's become more popular as the years have gone by. I still do have Bitcoin. Cryptocurrency, has come alive the last 20 years. And a lot of people don't understand it. I'm not saying I have a good handle on it, although I've read a book on it, and I probably will reread it because I haven't read it in a while. But I do have some Bitcoin, and cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum, you're making a lot of money, but it really was started to solve a problem of financial markets, international currencies, and how to all even out, because Mexico could be in a big down market, and the markets, how do you get even with like loans for things, because people borrow from us, we borrow from them. So it's kind of like a standalone system that goes up and down. It has become a lot more stable. But the other thing is, it's also become a lot more junk out there in the market. And what I mean by that is I don't know, there's probably 50 different currencies or cryptocurrencies that you can be involved in. And so if somebody wants to get involved in crypto, I would say stick with Ethereum and Bitcoin. It was used really to solve a problem. You can't use crypto to buy a cup of coffee, for example, but it does even out and stabilize market trades and governments and how they deal with each other. And it's private. So, for example, when I trade my stocks, that's governments all over it. They know how much I make, how much I trade,
Right.
how much. Crypto, they have a thing called blockchain, and government doesn't know. The government asked you about crypto, but they have really no way of really getting down and dirty,
Okay.
like they do.
So
in the
now
stock
I've
market.
got the IRS coming up.
Anyway, it's just a way of evening out regular currencies.
I see.
And it's only really it's being used and it's being more popular, but they're focusing on the big ones because there's 50 of them out there now, and they're all new, and you don't know if they're going to work.
Right.
When I first had bought Bitcoin and Ethereum, it was terrible. I mean, you couldn't call the company, you couldn't sign in, you couldn't get information, and it was really, that's why I never,
It was more work than it was worth, really.
yeah, and
the
it was
long
a
run.
little more scary because
Right.
you didn't know. Now
Yeah.
there are ways that, they wanted, this company called me and wanted to help me start investing my IRA money into get into the crypto market, and they wanted me to pay them $15,000 to do it, and I'm like, what? No way.
I'm not doing that.
$15,000. I remember I said I was smarter than the average bear.
There you
So,
go.
but anyway, it's a lot safer now, and it's used by large corporations. It's used to even out the currency, a worldwide currency, basically.
So, in terms of investment workshops, webinars, conferences, you mentioned that you like to attend the Vector Vest down in
Right.
Florida every January. Are there any others that maybe people don't necessarily have to travel for?
Well, actually, you don't have to travel to go to Tampa because they stream live, so you can just sign in.
Oh.
I didn't bring a book in. Oh yeah, well, this is example of the book of a two-day,
That they gave you
two-day
for the
seminar.
at the seminar.
Yeah, but you can download this too. You
Okay.
don't even have to travel there, and you can see it's
Yeah, it's full of
it's
information.
full of information in 2 days seminar and subjects. This particular one, they had track 1 and track 2. Track 1 was for active traders, and track 1 was for regular stock traders and, making money and growth and income. And track 2 addressed more techniques to people who are in retirement age, who
Sure.
they don't, and Dr. Dolito, they said, well, what happens if I run out of money? And Dr. Dolito said, keep making more money. And it's different strategies
Yeah.
that you would use rather than somebody who's like a day trader, who's
Right.
in and out. And it's a more long-term view with all the information you need to know about. So
Great.
there was another one I used before. I think it was called Educator. But I got out of that, and I used there. You could go online and look up, traders and investment people. A lot of them are tied to big investment organizations like Schwab or TD Ameritrade or those places like that. They usually have subsets of places you can take education with them online as well.
Well, I know that there is a variety of brokerages where you can start investing the money. We've always used TD Ameritrade, which
Right.
is now becoming Schwab. But in terms of the minimum investment, does that vary from brokerage to brokerage? Or?
Well, generally to open an account like on TD Ameritrade, you need $1,000
Okay.
minimum. If you're trading options, as an example, you have to have a minimum of $25,000 as a base. So if you have $30,000, you can only invest or trade those $5,000 because they keep that 25 in there to make sure you don't screw them
Oh, yeah.
out.
Okay. I see
You
what
know,
you're
you
saying.
get out before you owe them. You know, you owe them money.
Right.
You know, you can wind
see
up
that.
doing that.
There is and I'm sure there's people on there, but I've bought some classes on what they call Udemy, which people just like you are putting together their own curriculums and making classes and making money from people buying the type of information that they're putting out there. And there's all sorts of different stuff. So, and they can be pretty affordable depending on if you're just wanting to find a little bit more information and you want it in a form, you know, everybody has different learning styles. So some people reading is one thing, but they really need it explained or something. I'd encourage people to check that out.
VectorVest, you can do it for like sometimes over the holidays. It's no cost at all to go in and use it for 30 days to see if you like it.
That's how they get you hooked. You use it for 30 days and you're like, I can't not have this in my life.
Well,
it's
but
probably that
true.
good of a software.
It
though.
is.
Yeah.
It-
And that's
trust
why
me,
they
it's
do
good.
that.
Yeah, it's free. You know, it's free.
Marianne's like, I will spend that $1,100 every day.
Yeah, I'd spend it every month if I had
There you
to.
go.
Yeah, educate yourself.
There you go. So we have been speaking with Ann Dundon, the Stock Market Maven, and I think she's given out some pretty good advice. You can hit her up on Facebook if you have questions. She's on there. I think you're on Instagram also, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And speaking of contact, just a quick reminder that you can contact us directly through our Mr. Robbins podcast Facebook page. We also have email at mr.robin@mrrobinshood.com or Mikey at mrrobinshood.com. And now we even have a way for you to contact us via cell that we've named Podophone.
The Podophone.
The Podophone. So you can call or text anytime. But if you're sending shit at, and don't be a dick about this, by the way.
4 a.m. No, Mr. Robin's
I'm
up already,
yeah.
so he's the one that's going to have the phone.
That number is 580-827-0472. We'd love to hear your feedback, your comments, your complaints, threats.
Are all
whatever.
directed to Mr. Robin.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to threaten Mikey.
No, of course not. So whatever you want to toss our way, we're only too happy to catch it, talk about it. We may even put you on the podcast.
You just never know.
You never know. So as always, when we close, we bid you to stay hungry,
Stay foolish, but most importantly, stay weird.
Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.